Welcome to Kayak Fishing Virginia Beach. I'm Shannon. Today's my first video. I'm going to show you how to install a anchor trolley. I've got a Hobie Quest 13, and at the end of the video I will show you the components list of everything you need to set it up. Your first deck loop you're going to install, first off you want to use stainless steel or nylon deck loops, pad eyes. When you install it, your first one you want to come approximately 12 inches from the front of your boat. So measure 12 inches and use a Sharpie to put a dot on your hull where you want to drill your first hole. There's two different ways you can install your pad eyes. One is you can use tapping screws. Since I have access to the hull of my boat, I'm going to be using machine screws. Again, make sure everything is stainless steel. That way it doesn't be affected by salt water. When you drill your hole, you want the hole to be just a little bit smaller than the screw that you're going to be using. That way you can screw it into the boat and it helps make a watertight seal. Alright, there's our first hole. Now that we have drilled our hole, if you're using tapping screws to install your deck loops, you don't have to pre-drill a hole. They will self-tap. But since I'm using a nut and bolt and washer, I drilled the hole a little bit smaller than the screw. You're wanting to go ahead and put the screw in with your deck loop, just as a temporary fit. And the reason that you want to do that is we'll now take and use the deck loop as our guide for the next hole that we'll drill. Okay, now that we've got our second hole drilled, we're going to go ahead and screw in our next bolt. So that it has a dry fit. And the reason that we're doing this is this sort of threads the hole a little bit, and we're going to back these out. And before actually finishing the installation of this first deck loop, you will want to put some type of sealant on there. I'll recommend using a sealant called Lexel. It's not silicone based. It bonds to just about everything, including polypropylene, which is what most of your kayaks are made of. So, give me just a minute and we'll be back to where I will put the sealant on and finish the installation of this deck loop. Here's our Lexel, and I'm going to put a pretty generous amount of it. By the way, Lexel comes in two varieties, the clear and white. I'm using clear. I don't want white dots on my kayak. And you can see I'm putting a pretty generous amount of Lexel in each of the holes. Now, like I said, what you'll do is you come back, put your screw back into the holes with your deck loop, and since you dry fit the screws, they will definitely go in a whole lot easier this time. And the nice thing about the sealant is it takes approximately 30 seconds before it is not tacky. After that, it takes approximately 24 to 48 hours to begin to cure. Once it cures, it will actually set up and remains flexible, but it also seals around the hole and threads of the bolt that you're using. And that takes care of installing our front deck loop for the anchor trolley. Now for our back pad eye. Again, you want to put it in approximately 12 inches from the back of your boat. I'm actually going to be putting mine a little further up because I don't want to mess with the logo that's on my boat. Just like before, you want to start by putting a dot approximately where you want your pad eye to go, that's where you'll drill your first hole. Okay, and just like before, we're going to dry fit the screw in the hole. Okay, now I'm drilling out my second hole. As you can see, I just have this dry fit to hold the pad eye in place. I'm using the pad eye to know where to drill my second hole at. And just like before, I'm going to dry fit my screw because it will make things much easier when we actually go to seal it with our Lexel and attach the nut and washer to the back side of it. Since we're still here on our back deck loop, the next step is to take a piece of bungee cord. This is 1/4 inch bungee, and all I did was cut a length off about this big, tied a knot in the end of it to make a loop. And what I'm going to do is thread that up through my deck loop, pull it back through. This gives you a little bit of a shock absorber so that when we eventually run the line, it will have some give to it. Once you're done putting your piece of bungee in there, then you want to take a stainless steel carabiner. This one's approximately 2 1/4 inches long. Put that on your bungee, and here in a minute, this is what our anchor trolley rope will hook to. Now we're back at the front of the boat. We're going to take another stainless steel carabiner. This one just goes straight onto your deck loop. Now from here, we are going to start running our cord. This is 5mm nylon diamond braid cord. Has a nylon core. Very important to make sure of that. That way the salt water won't impact your line. So what we're going to do is run this through our carabiner in the front and all the way to our back loop. Okay, next thing we're going to do is you need a stainless steel ring. I think this one's 2 inches, maybe 2 1/2. We're at the front of the boat. We've ran our line. This is the tag end of the line. What you want to do is run this through your ring. You want it doubled over like this, and you want approximately an arm's length. Now, to tie this off, we're going to use sort of a modified uni knot. What you need to do is take your tag end, bring it up a little bit, and loop it. Hold on to your end. Now take the tag end, wrap it around your coils, make them pretty tight. You want to do 4, 5, 6 coils just so that it's good and tight. I believe that's 5 right there. Now, you have your loop here that we made. Take your tag end through the loop. While holding on to your coils, pull on the length of rope going to your kayak. That will cinch the knot down onto your ring, and it will also pull your tag end onto your line. So pull those tight. Your knot will look like this. Now when you're done, take your little bit of tag end and put a couple of clinch knots at the end just to make sure that it's on there good. And that attaches your line to your ring. We're almost done. The next piece that you want to do is we're going to take one more carabiner, so that's 3 total. This one will end up hooking to your loop this way, but you also need to attach your other end of the cord that's running to the back of your boat to it. We're going to use the same type of modified uni knot here on your ring to attach it. Before you do this next step, what you will want to do is put your line through your carabiner, pull it tight so that you know approximately how much line you're going to need, and then go to the back end of your boat and unhook your carabiner that's hooked to your bungee cord in the back. That way, after you tie everything down and hook your cord up to your bungee, you have a little bit of give there. That way it's not too tight or too loose.